running?
We are just, we are in the process of being able to move equipment into there. As you may know, our traffic section will be operating out of there, but with COVID and the different things that are happening, we haven't been able to get the assistance to get our things moved into there, but it's in process. We just talked about it today in a meeting. It's a great space, and it's just a matter of getting all of our stuff in there so that they can start operating out of that location.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Deputy Chief Neal, do we have any other substations in the city of Federal Way?
Well, we have the substation that we've had quite a while over by the transit center, as you know. That's the substation that we've had for a few years now. We also have a small substation up in the apartment complex up close to 280th, if you will, in the highway. It's just one of their apartments up there that we have used for years. And it's the same thing. It's just a small room for officers to go in and do reports. Those are the three that we have going on now.
Okay. Thank you, Deputy Chief.
I had a question.
Go ahead,
for
Councilmember
Deputy Chief.
Baruso.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Deputy Chief, I just had a question on the what is the common area maintenance? Was that included in that cost?
I would assume it's just the maintenance of the front portion, whatever needs to be done around the fascia of the building and that sort of thing out front. The cost that it takes to keep it in shape, I suppose.
Okay.
And I would assume also, I don't know this for a fact, but I would also assume that's anything that maybe happens inside that needs to be done, that they need to take care of.
Okay. Because that's broken down in the monthly costs I see for the most everything but 350. So I'm just kind of wondering what that was.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think it's just general maintenance.
Okay. Thank you.
I have another question.
Go ahead, Council President.
Deputy Chief, do we still have a substation at the mall?
Well, what we have at the mall, it's a place. Yes, we do, but it is an office space that we have there. Obviously, we have 3 mall officers, and they need a place in order to go in and have their business supplies and that sort of thing in there. And occasionally, they can take people in there and interview them or that sort of thing. It's on the south side, the back side of the mall, where there's a separate entrance to that. I wouldn't call it as much a substation. It's because really all the officers don't use it. It's just the 3 mall officers, and anyone who would have to go there to conduct business would use it. It's not like open where all of our officers go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Council, are there any other questions?
Yeah, and the one at Westway, I know is no longer in use, correct? Is that my understanding from last week's conversation?
That's correct. That's their, they still use that as their community building, but we do not have a substation there or an office there. We haven't for some time.
Are we revisiting, or would we be revisiting that? I know I asked this question last week, but.
Not that I'm aware of. We don't have any plans in place that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Thank you. Do we have Councilmember Sevadasan? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, I think because that area has been impacted, and I know it goes in spurts, but I think it'll be good to have a presence if the space is still available. But maybe not. I don't know. Just
well, I can tell you, certainly we're aware that we have a lot of staff tending to issues at Westway and special emphasis and that sort of thing. Officers going in and paying attention to the area. But what we run into when we talk about substations, you have to remember that we do have to provide a certain amount, like a computer or phone, or that, we have to put those things, and that's very costly for us. And so every time we open one, there's an additional cost to putting the equipment in there. So it's not an easy process to open up another substation. It's costly.
Thank you. Council, any other questions? Seeing none, do I hear a motion?
I have a motion.
Go
Chair
ahead,
Torchmar.
Councilmember Brusso.
I move to forward the proposed MOU amendment to the June 16, 2020 consent agenda for approval.
Second?
Is there, oh, thank you. So it's been moved by Councilmember Brusso and seconded by Councilmember Sevadossan to move to forward the proposed MOU amendment to the June 16th consent agenda for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Now we're on to other items on the agenda. Are there any other issues that you would like to discuss? Deputy Chief Neal, I'm wondering if there's anything that you'd like to bring up.
I don't have anything. I'd be happy to answer any questions that I can, but I don't have anything in particular to bring up. We've been, I can tell you since we have a little bit of time here that, we've been very busy with the obvious things that are going on in our community and in other communities as well. But the one thing that I do point out when I'm answering people's comments or questions is to remember that we still, with all the things that we have going on, whether it's COVID or the other issues around the country, we still take 77,000 calls for service a year at the police department, and that really hasn't slowed down. So we're still continuing to do everything that we normally do, while on top of that, we're trying to be very attentive to the other things that are going on in our community.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions of Deputy Chief?
I don't have a question.
I hear a dog.
That's not mine. I don't have a question, but I would like to have an opportunity to look at the budget, the police budget. And I would like to request that. Do I go through you? Do we go through you, Susan, or how do we access that? Or what do we do?
Well, normally I can answer that. We would go through finance. The budget,
So just
the budget
send-
would. Yeah,
Okay,
we should. I can pass that on to Councilmember Tran.
okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. My dog started barking a lot. Sorry. What was the question?
The question
Councilmember
is-
Sevadossan. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
She wanted to know. She would like to look at the budget for the police department, and I said normally that would go through the finance committee, and that I would pass that information on to Councilmember Tran.
Okay. It should be in the monthly FEDRAC reports. Or do you
I
want more
wanted-
detail than that?
I do
Okay.
personally. So, and hopefully, and it goes to everyone then, right? All the council members?
It would be, yeah. Do
Okay.
you want me to ask a day to send it to us?
It's whoever asks. I would like. Yeah, I think we should look at it. And
So,
Hmm?
oh, go ahead, Council President Honda. If you want to handle that, that'd be great.
Is that okay? Do you mind, Linda? Council?
No.
Okay.
Great. You just,
I'll
if you
just
want to have
ask-
a day, just make sure it gets on the agenda for Councilmember Tran.
Yes. I'll ask the chief and a day to work on that, to send it to everyone.
thank you.
Councilmember Sevadossan, is there anything in particular that you're looking for?
You know, as we're going through all this, here I go again. But considering the current trend, considering all the issues and concerns that are going on nationwide, one of the conversation is around defunding police, and that's not where I'm going with this. I just want to see the budget and see how we could even enhance or whatever it takes. But I think it's something for us to consider, look at, and make sure that we are doing the right thing before it even becomes an issue or a concern. So it would be good for us to look at it. And I also want to look at, there's the different pots and different funding sources for police. So also seeing what those pots are, and I know some of them are we can't touch, like Prop 1. I'm aware of that. But then there's the general fund portion as well as the red camera portion. So just looking at those, seeing how we use them, and also seeing if there's any, honestly, if there's any way we could even use some of that to enhance other services and programs, I would be more than interested in supporting that, especially since we're going to be starting looking at the budget. This would be a great time to look at that budget as well.
Okay.
Okay. I took notes. I'll include those in the notes. I'll include you in the email, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions?
Chairperson, I have a few things I just wanted to ask too, because I'm not
Good.
sure
Go ahead.
which direction
Go
we
ahead,
want to go with
Councilmember.
these.
Yeah.
And I
go
know
ahead.
I had discussed this with Council President Honda, and I know something that I don't know if it's through this committee or whatever, but in the I know that listening to the Diversity Commission meeting last week, the matter came up about the Black Lives Matter flag. So, not saying that the flag can fly, but is there a way that a banner can get somewhere on our webpage somewhere, whether it be Facebook or somewhere else on our city webpage?
Council
And I
President
don't know if it
Honda.
comes to us. I'm sorry.
Sure. Yeah. I think that was all turned over to the mayor before I came on the council. So I do not know the answer to that. That could be another question for Council President Honda to pass on to the mayor.
I did speak with Jerry Lynn about this, and she asked me a lot of questions about it. So I think we would have to ask every council member where they are on this, and talk with legal and also with the mayor.
I
Understand.
personally would like to see it. If nowhere else on our website, actually, I would go as far as saying we need it on our website, and then our council Facebook page, because we have to be in solidarity. We have to be in agreement. We have to state it and call it out and say what it is that matters. And so when we're silent, it's saying that it doesn't matter to us, and I don't want our city to ever be that. I personally feel it's very important. And I support Councilmember Barusso's suggestion. We're actually a little too late, but it's better than nothing. So if we need to have more conversation about this, I'm more than happy to have the conversation, but I don't want us to be the city that did nothing.
So would you like it on the city's webpage?
Oh, that would be the best.
Is that
Yes.
what you mean by webpage?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that where you, Councilmember Baruso? Is that, I know we had
That's-
talked about our Facebook page, but
Right.
Both.
And either way, for me, Council President Honda, and that's the first question I had was trying to put it on a webpage, but at least be visible somewhere that we can get to it, that someone looks at it. Because like we spoke and we discussed, not going back, I had that time myself also to look at other city websites, but every organization around now has that, that banner flying on there, whether it be in their windows or on their websites. And that's why I asked the question, just to make sure, number one, that we can get that done. And I think with the council member, Asefa Dawson saying, and I think we all know this, we all feel this, that there's a timing thing that's going on with everything that we're trying to do. And I know that we're trying to accomplish a lot, and we have a lot to do. But to be proactive in a lot of things, I think things are going to be coming up where we need to think about a lot of things. And that's just one of them, just showing support for everybody. And it gives a statement for us to say, hey, we're here and we are listening, like we all talked about.
okay.
And the only other one I have, excuse me, Chair Coach Mars, and I
Go
think
ahead.
again, and I'm not sure whether this comes through us or not again, but I know there's discussion again. I've talked to Council President Honda about this. Was there any discussions, and probably you know too, because you've been here for quite a while, but any establishment of any Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion at all? And where does that come from? Does it come from our committee? Does it go out to the General Council? Or how do we do this, if possible at all? I know that funding could be something that has to be looked at, and I'm not sure. That's why I'm asking the question.
Well, I normally would believe it would come through this committee. This is where the Diversity Commission responds to. I don't know if there's been ever, in my experience, a discussion on Office of Equity and Inclusion, but I had been gone for well over 6 years, so there may have been discussion since then, so I don't know. But that's a good question, and Council President Honda, it sounds like something else for you to pass on.
Yep, so I was thinking that we would talk about it during, well, bring it up now, like Councilmember Baruso has done, but during the budget season.
Okay.
So I will send an email to the mayor and to Aday saying that this is something that we'd like to look into. And I know we've had someone like this before, but it was part of his job. He had it was when I was on the Diversity Commission years ago. We had, I think he was an assistant administrator. He was in the mayor's office. Can't remember his name. But he worked with equity.
Are you talking about Steve McNay?
Mm-mm.
No?
No, it was before I was on council.
Oh. Yeah,
So
clearly.
before 2011.
Yeah, there may have been. I don't remember any. Well, we obviously didn't start an Office of Equity and Inclusion, so I don't know what kind of discussions were taking place back then.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Okay, hearing none. It sounds like, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I would actually support the idea of looking into this and studying to see if especially once we go into as we go into this budget season, create the next 2-year budget, I would like to see what would it take to start something like this. Council President Honda, I think that you're actually sharing something I didn't know. It sounds like we had something similar to this, which is I'm really interested in finding out what it is.
It seemed to no, we don't have it now. It seemed to me we had someone years ago that was starting this kind of work. And
Linda, would you know anything? Because you've been on the council during that time too.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Sorry,
there
Susan.
may have been. No, that's okay. Thank you, Councilmember Moore and Council President Honda. I'm identifying you, Martin, in case people don't realize that you're the one talking.
Sure.
I clearly, I don't have any real recollection. There may have been somebody assigned to certain actions or certain issues. You know, I've been chair of all the committees, and it was not when I was chair of Parks, absolutely. But you know, I've been gone since 2010, so I can't. I just don't. There may have been discussions. There may have been somebody who was assigned to certain issues, but I just don't have any clear recollection.
Susan,
Too
is
many
it different
days
from
to-
the community liaison?
it was, and the person wasn't with us for very long. Just it was a matter of months before we had to make budget cuts, and so maybe staff did. John,
Can
do you
Jerry Lynn-
remember?
Jerry Lynn,
Do you
do you know?
remember what I'm talking about? Because I don't think I'm making this up. I'm pretty sure I remember this.
I'm not sure. Are you talking about he used to be like assistant city manager, almost
Yes. Yeah.
an American gentleman?
Yeah. And he went
You're
down to
about
Portland.
Bryant Inge?
Yeah.
That's
Yes. Yeah.
That's who I was thinking you were thinking of, but yeah.
Wasn't that part of his job?
I don't recall what his job duties were. I was still over at the community center, and
Okay.
He was.
His official title was Administrative Services Director, so he oversaw finance, and we reported to him as IT as well.
And he reported to, he helped with the Diversity Commission, and that's how I knew him. So I'm pretty sure he was starting this equity and inclusion work with the city before we had to say goodbye.
Before we had a
Okay.
change in government,
Well-
before we went from council manager to mayor.
We had some budget issues, so we had to lay some people off.
Yeah, that's back in 2008, 2009, possibly, maybe 2010. Probably 2010 is when we laid people off, because 2008 is when the, I don't know if you call it recession, but when we had such a problem with the economy, and that went into the next budget year, which would have been, I believe, 2010. And I know that we had to, it was just heart-rending. We had to lay people off in the beginning of 2010. So may have been somewhere in that time frame. I clearly just have no recollection.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think if we read some minutes from the Diversity Commission back then, we might be able to find out.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I'll just talk to the mayor about it, because he was around back then. Maybe he'll remember. But even if he doesn't remember, it's still something to look into.
Sure.
Yeah, I believe
Okay.
it's a timely thing again, that we're probably overdue
Mhm.
in a way.
Mhm.
The proactivity of what we need to do is something that we probably should start really thinking about if we haven't already, right? And I know we have, the council has talked about this in the past,
Mhm.
but
So,
there's some things we
Councilmember-
need to move forward with.
Sure.
Yes.
Councilmember Baruso, are you aware of any other cities? I'm sure there are, but offhand that have, I would imagine Seattle does, but are there any other suburban cities that might have such an
Bellevue.
office?
Bellevue,
Yeah.
Shoreline,
Does.
Renton.
Yeah. Some of them, a lot
Okay.
of them do. And
Yeah,
that's
that
why
helps that
that's-
we don't
yeah.
reinvent the wheel.
Exactly.
And I think
if
Auburn
we-
just got theirs also.
Mhm.
Auburn does? Okay.
I think they have it, yeah, but at least I know Shoreline, Renton,
All right.
Kent, but Auburn has been through the training on
Okay.
equity and race, and I really believe they have hired someone for that position as well. So there are cities we can look into. I mean, look to and get like you said, Councilmember Kochmar, and rather than reinventing the wheel, get information from them. I know with Renton before they even did. Well, Susan, remember we tried to get Renton to come and do a training for us, and they were willing to do that to get it started. But I know they engaged their communities very heavily to even get to where they are today. So that's I believe that's a really good model for us to follow.
Yeah. And we're still working on that, but we had the pandemic that decided to disrupt everyone.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
So once we can meet in person, we'll get a date for that training for council and hopefully for our city commissions.
All right. Council, are there any other questions or any other ideas, any other issues? Hearing none, our next meeting will be July 14th for the Parks, Recreation, Human Services, and Public Safety at 5 p.m.
Oh, Chair, Coach Meyer, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Just one more thing. I need to ask because I don't know either. But can committees call for special meetings at all?
Yes.
Well, of course. Yeah.
How
did you
does that
wanna have a
work? Can you? Well, I'm just wondering, what is that?
You
What is the
You
process?
just have
for
to
that?
make the decision. If there's an issue you want to talk about, we would just have to give a notice to the public with, I believe it's 48 hours. It could be 24. I clearly can't remember what the amount of time was, but we have to notice the public that we're going to have a special meeting of the Parks meeting and create an agenda and have the agenda posted so that people know what we're going to talk about, and then simply hold the meeting.
24 hours.
Is it 24?
Okay.
Okay.
And
Does
we did hold a special parks meeting, I think it was last year or the year before.
Okay. How many, I guess because I don't know, but how many issues can we talk about at a special meeting? I guess what I'm asking, is it unlimited or is there a number?
No,
or
usually,
Just depends.
well, usually at a special meeting, you can talk about anything you want. The trouble is taking action. Usually, if I remember right, it's taking action at a special meeting that may be something you can't do. But usually for a special meeting, you can talk about anything, any issue you want.
Okay. Thank you.
Chair, Coach Moore, there's an attorney here, right?
Right.
Is that what?
Mr.
Is that Dale?
Mr. Coldy.
Yeah,
Did I
hi.
say that?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that particular rule. If you'd like, I can take a look at the rules and
That'd be a good
email you
idea.
on it later and let you know. I
Uh-huh.
don't want to give you any speculative answer, so
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Great.
happy to do that.
Great. Now, you can, I think in your notice to the public, I think you can say, and that's what you should look into, that action may be taken, but you'd have to look into that, because there's specific guidelines, and I'd have to look them up. Yeah, thank you.
I believe we did take action at the special meeting that we held of the Parks Commission last year. Councilmember Moore, you were on that committee, were you not?
Can you say that
remember?
again? I wasn't listening. I'm
So
sorry.
The special Parks Committee that we had either last year or the year before, it was called for budget. It was for the money for Mary's Place, that discussion. Do you remember that?
Okay, vaguely.
So I believe we did take, or the committee took action. I do, but I could be wrong, but I do.
Yeah,
Well,
'cause
let's-
But that
I'm-
came, did that
My-
come to council for the full vote?
it did.
It afterwards, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I
this is
guess-
something, Mhm. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, Linda. Thank you.
Go ahead.
My judgment would kind of point to is, so long as we advertise that action may be taken or not during this special committee meeting, I think that would have to be noticed, I'm guessing. But I think one of the other questions I have is that with this COVID-19 and I know we have to be careful on what we put on our city council agenda and what can be passed. So how does that play a role into this committee? So we may be limited, or maybe I would imagine we're limited.
Well, I think you're right, Councilmember Moore. Any action we take would be simply to pass it on to the full city council. But I think Dale Coldy is going to look into the
Yeah.
issues with regard to it all. So
Yeah,
I think
thank
we're,
you.
yeah.
It's
thank
probably
you.
only items on whatever the agenda is posted at that action could be taken on. I mean, even here, we'd have to be careful, so.
Right. So if you want to talk about anything, it has to get on the agenda, and then.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yes.
usual.
Yes.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'll be
All
quiet.
right.
That's okay.
Anytime, Councilmember Caruso. We've only been here for half an hour. This is like, we need some topics to talk about. Okay. Well,
Sorry.
anyway, so yeah, I'm proud of our community. I'm proud of the way we had peaceful demonstrations. I'm proud of the way we were able to handle taking care of our businesses so quickly. I'm glad that we were able to come together as a community and work together, and so I'm very happy with that. And I'm very happy that we're willing to move forward with action in regard to issues that may be festering out there. So, all right. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Thanks, Councilmember Caruso. Glad you're on board. Okay, well, thank you. So we have some things that Council President Honda is going to be following up on. And as far as I know at the moment, our next meeting will be July 14th at 5 p.m. And thank you all for being here. And we'll see you probably at the next council meeting. Take
Thanks, Chair.
care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you,
Bye.
Susan, for taking
Bye.
that on.
All right, I'll
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
send an email tonight. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Bye-bye now.
Bye.